guys, this is Chris from DSX Machina, and in this series I've been talking about the art that inspired me. It inspires me to this day. I think part of this video, one of these series, I'm going to talk about the artwork that inspired Amethyst, and showing some love for some of these people and how I came about to create the visual style of Amethyst with my current artist, Nick Greenwood, and how we came about to our relationship. But talking about the other artists that helped me along the way. But this series is going to talk about, as I use some hands to keep people interested, the 3 or 4 artists that inspired me the most. In my earlier videos, I talked about Jim Burns. I talked about the art from the Cowley TTA books, which done by various people, and I mentioned their names: Angus McKee, Tony Roberts, Colin Hay, and so forth. But I want to talk about 2 Pacific artists, and now we're down to this, probably in the 3. Maybe I said Jim Burns was probably number 2. In retrospect, maybe this guy was number 2, and then Jim Burns was 3. And unfortunately, we lost this artist recently, actually. In fact, he died in December of 2019. His name is Syd Mead. I love Syd Mead. I don't know if he inspired me, but I loved what he created. I actually have an organization in my Alien RPG called Obligon that's named after Syd Mead. And he is very much an industrial designer. He doesn't do covers. He's hired to design artifacts, vehicles, technology, cities. And so you generally won't see his art style hanging in libraries or on the covers of books, but you will see them in other ways. Obviously, he's done design work back in the old days for those vehicle brochures, traditional, right? And that's kind of he was known for very long, as kind of designing vehicles. But this eventually changed as he started working with movies. And we see a lot of his modern visual style here, but then we move into his crazy stuff. I know what that is. That's the Daedalus. That's a theoretical spaceship, right? Habitats. Oh, like, tell me that the movie Elysium didn't take some inspiration from this image. Fantastical sides. This is I know I had an adventure that was placed in a construct that was similar to this. I was inspired by this. Fantasy. Also, like, once again, I mean, I don't know, maybe a couple of his work was seen as a cover. I love that look, the industrial moon there. Walking vehicles, definitely inspirational. I definitely probably ripped off some of these for some of my older games. But now we're moving into films, and we move into here. This is, I can tell right off the bat, this is Star Trek 1. He designed V'ger, visual look of V'ger. And of course, we all know he did Tron. It's all just Syd Mead just showing us up. And I love the evolution of the solar sail. Then of course Blade Runner, which is the other title that he is probably most well known for. Yeah, he did designs for the spinner, the various vehicles, the cityscape. This is directly translated. This became a phone. This was originally Deckard's gun, but it later became a phone. There's the Voight-Kampff test. Yeah, I know my lore. Deckard's office, the cityscape, some actual photography. And here's some shock. He actually did work for Gundam. And so yeah, he actually designed. There was a Gundam anime. And he also did, although I don't think you're going to see it here, he also did Space Battleship Yamato. He did one of the animated versions. He designed the new Yamato. So if you see a Yamato that's very angular and with a lot of straight lines, that'll be Syd Mead's contribution. 2010, she did with Peter Hyam. He designed the Leonov, which also, he's the opposite of Jim Burns. He's straight lines everywhere. I don't think he hardly ever has a curve in his work. He did work for Aliens as well, but I think the Leonov and the look of 2010 is also very, the probe, that's translated perfectly. This book is a little on the rare side. You don't see very many of these copies of these floating around. I don't think they're terribly expensive though. But yeah, that is I still have my old price tag from 1997 when I bought it. That is Obligon, Concepts of Syd Mead, but this is not the only book I have of his. I think these are actually worth more. This is called Studio Image. They come in a pack of 3. and completely not in any order. There's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. These encompass very large, very high quality, specific images, no documentation, no story, no history, just illustrations. And some of them are in very different stock. You can feel the roughness of this paper. So it changes the quality of paper in these books, which is fascinating. Most of it, some of his graphic design, a lot of it in, we've seen some of these before, more of the rough paper, like construction paper almost. A lot of his sketch work. I bought these, they weren't as inspirational as Obligón, but still a wonderful thing to take a look at. And we can see this is incredibly inspiring. I know I employed this when I was designing the city for Neurospasta, and I sent Nick inspiration. This was probably the dominant image I sent him. I go, this is the visual look we want for this utopian city of the future. Once again, some really neat vehicle designs. Some of them quite a bit modern. These are definitely, I always thought that he probably designed the Ford Probe. It's interesting, it's been proven that this long sloping lines are actually not aerodynamically efficient, that rounded designs are actually better. So, but there was this angular push, especially in the 70s and 80s. Oh my God, completely forgot that he designed Johnny Five from Short Circuit. It makes sense, completely angular design. And it's a very logical design. Yeah, look at that, Johnny Five. Who would have thought? Even I forget some of these things. Great visuals. I like some of these are just awesome. He must like boats. And finally, 3. It's a good thing I have a widescreen on this thing. Once again, texture change. Oh, this is neat. That's very, very cool. It's interesting looking through some of these books. I'm becoming more inspired. Going, oh, I remember these. Journey to the Center. I was like, this is a drilling machine for Journey to the Center of the Earth. I go, yes, it is, but not from a version that you probably think. It's not the core. Oh, that is so amazing. This is Princess of Mars. This is Zidangan ship. This is not from John Carter. This is from probably either a failed film concept or from a novel series or from a game series. But that is an amazing airship. Look at that. That's a beautiful design. In many ways, I kind of wish they went for that kind of old galleon look. So this is interesting. If you want to know where these designs are from, they're from a movie called Solar Crisis. Good luck finding it. It's not an easy film to find. It is also awful. I'll give you an idea how awful the film is. It was directed by Alan Smithy, which means it's somebody who had their name removed. But it looks a pretty good film. And of course, we are moving into aliens, and we see hypersleep tubes, and then the Sulaco itself, which used to be a weapon design and got turned into the ship. One of the most iconic ships ever made, I might add. But yeah, this is, once again, a completely different visual style from what we know with Jim Burns, where Jim Burns was always about curves and rounded edges, and then Syd Mead was very much straight lines, industrial look. Sometimes you can almost call it a brutalist visual style. But I love it. What a great, I love it. City view of LA in the future of 2015. Like, okay. And then there's the Gundam image on the other side. But yeah, I absolutely love Syd Mead. Very inspirational growing up. And I was a fan of his up until this day. He also did work for some other films. I know he did work for Time Cop as well. He designed the guns and the technology for Time Cop. But this is older than Time Cop, so you're not going to see any of those designs there. But he was still doing work up until recently, and then he fortunately passed away. So rest in peace, Syd Mead. Anyway, guys, like and subscribe. And this is the second to last. There's still one more video in this series where I talk about the most inspirational artist outside of Nick, because Nick was obviously the most inspirational because we worked together, but the most inspirational artist of my youth.